Hi, this is Annie from Wild Birds Unlimited in Westchester, and today I wanted to tell you about how you can turn your yard into a wildlife habitat. And you might be wondering, why would I want to turn my yard into a wildlife habitat? Well, one of the main reasons is that over the past 50 years, there's been an almost 30% decrease in our songbird population. And the main reason for that drastic decrease is loss of habitat. And so we at Wild Birds Unlimited, being supporters of our birds and supporters of bringing people and nature together, have decided to champion the National Wildlife Federation's Certified Wildlife Habitat Program. And the program's goal is to really help people decide to create their own wildlife havens in their yard. So in order to have a certified wildlife habitat, your yard has to have 5 different components to it. And I'm going to share with you those 5 components and show you some examples of those components in my own yard. So the first component is food. And there needs to be 3 different sources of food for wildlife in your yard. So there's some examples of food that I have in my yard. So these are some native plants that I have. So I have black-eyed Susans here, I have some milkweed over here, and I have winterberry plants over here. So black-eyed Susans are great. You'll see a lot of goldfinches who love black-eyed Susans. They're picking the seeds out of that. Milkweed, monarch butterflies love milkweed. And then lastly, winterberries. A wide array of songbirds will go to the winterberries, especially in the winter when they turn bright red. So having native plants is very important. The second important food source is to have supplemental feeders. So supplemental feeders would be any sort of different bird feeders that you have. So hummingbird feeders, foundational feeders, finch feeders, suet feeders. Any of those are really important because they create these reliable places of nutrition for your birds throughout the year. So here I have a squirrel-proof feeder that's called the Eliminator. It's filled with black oil sunflower right now. And over here is a suet feeder that's really great, has lots of fats in it that's good for the birds throughout the year. So besides supplemental feeders and native plants, the second component that you need to have is a source of water. And you need one source of water in your yard. So it can be something as simple as this. This right here is just a green shallow dish that we actually sell at the store, and you just fill it with water. But you might also have ponds in your yard. You might be next to a river. All of that counts as water, but something as simple as a dish, a cup, or something like that works great. Because birds really need to have a reliable source of clean water throughout the year for drinking and for bathing. So that's the second component. The third component that your yard needs to have is a place for cover. It needs to have 2 places of cover for wildlife. So examples of places of cover would be thickets, or if you have very thick shrubs, if you have brambles, if you have brush piles, rock piles, evergreen trees, all of those are places of cover. And I'll show you an example of cover that we have in our yard is a brush pile. And what we do is whenever sticks fall from our trees, or after we're done cutting the grass, we'll throw all this into our brush pile, and that's made a really great place of protection for our birds and other wildlife. So places of cover are really important because all wildlife need places to escape from the elements, so from weather as well as from predators. So that's the third component. The fourth component is places to raise their young. So you need 2 different places to raise their young in your yard. So places where the birds can have courtship behavior, where they can mate, where they can and then nest and raise their young. So in our yard we have a nesting box. We actually have a couple of nesting boxes. So nesting boxes are great. Again, thick shrubs are great. Mature trees are great. So we have an old maple that works wonderful for raising young. Even like milkweed is great because anything that were caterpillars, like a host for caterpillars, that counts for places to raise their young. So those are 4. The 5th one actually is engagement in sustainable practices. So on the National Wildlife Federation's website, they go through a list of sustainable practices that you need to do. And I'm just gonna list some of them here that we do in our yard. So some of those would be not using any fertilizers or pesticides. Also using a way to collect the rain. So we have rain barrels in our yard that we use to collect the rain. Using mulch counts, using native plants, So all of those are sustainable practices that we use. And again, for a full list, check out the website for more examples. So when you have all of those 5 components in your yard, you can go to the National Wildlife Federation's website, and they have a checklist that you'll fill out. And after you fill that out, you pay a small application fee, and then they will send you a certificate that's saying that your backyard is a certified wildlife habitat. And then if you want to, that sign I was holding up at the beginning of the video, for a little extra price, you can actually buy one of those signs and put them out in your yard. And it kind of spreads the word about how important it is for all of us to work together to create these wildlife habitats. So if you have any questions, please come into the store. We are happy to answer any questions you have about this super fun and rewarding program. We are so excited to be partnering with the National Wildlife Federation in this experience, and we really hope that you join us by creating wildlife habitats in your own yard. Have a nice day.